In old age, how to never get angry or bothered by anyone. Advice from old people. Aging brings with it a wealth of experience, but it also brings changes physical, emotional, and social. By the time we reach our 60s, we've seen enough of life to know that frustrations, disappointments, and annoyances are inevitable. Yet, despite our wisdom, many of us still find ourselves irritated by people, situations, or even the state of the world. How do we break free from this cycle? How do we master our emotions so that anger and frustration no longer control us? The answer lies in developing a mindset of emotional resilience, wisdom, and inner peace. Let's explore practical ways to let go of irritation and live a life free from unnecessary emotional burdens. 1. Understanding anger. Why does it still happen in old age? Anger is often seen as the emotion of the young, driven by ambition, competition, or a need to prove something. Yet, as we grow older, anger doesn't simply vanish. It changes form. It becomes quieter, more internalized, and sometimes more persistent. It no longer comes from reckless impulses, but from deeper, more complex frustrations. It's the sting of being unheard, the ache of watching the world shift in ways we don't always understand, the frustration of physical limitations we never used to have, and the sorrow of relationships that have changed or drifted apart. Aging brings wisdom, but it also brings loss of youth, loss of control over certain aspects of life, and sometimes loss of relevance in a world that seems to move faster with each passing year. These changes can create resentment, not because we are bitter, but because we long for the stability and respect we once took for granted. Anger, then, becomes a reaction to feeling overlooked, undervalued, or powerless. But here's the truth. Anger is not proof of injustice. It is proof that we are still attached to expectations that no longer serve us. The world will not always act as we wish, and people will not always behave as we think they should. We cannot control others, nor can we stop time. But what we can control is how we choose to respond. We can let go of the need to fight against what is and instead embrace the peace that comes with acceptance. When we stop seeing anger as something imposed on us by the outside world and recognize it as a choice we make within, we reclaim our power. Because peace isn't found in changing the world, it's found in changing the way we see it. 2. Shift from reacting to observing. For most of our lives, we have been conditioned to react. A rude remark, an unfair situation, a dismissive attitude, these things trigger an almost automatic response. We defend, we argue, we let our emotions flare up as if our dignity depends on it. But as we grow older, we begin to see that reactions do not change the world. They only disturb our own peace. The secret to emotional freedom is learning to step back and observe rather than immediately respond. Imagine walking through a busy street and hearing a stranger shout an insult. In your younger years, you might have turned around, demanded an explanation, or carried that insult with you all day, letting it fester in your mind. But now, with age and experience, you have the wisdom to ask, does this truly deserve my energy? The moment you choose to observe rather than react, you reclaim your power. You begin to see that most people's words and actions are not about you at all, but about their own inner struggles, frustrations, and fears. When someone lashes out, it is often a reflection of their own pain, not a statement of your worth. Observation gives you space to breathe, space to think, space to choose how you will respond. It allows you to see beyond the surface, to recognize that the person who speaks harshly may be battling unseen burdens. It gives you the wisdom to walk away from unnecessary conflicts, not out of weakness, but out of the deep understanding that your peace is worth more than winning an argument. Mastery over your emotions does not mean suppressing them. It means becoming aware of them, acknowledging them, and then deciding consciously, deliberately, what to do with them. In that small pause between action and reaction lies an incredible power, the power to live with clarity, to let go of what does not serve you, and to choose peace over momentary satisfaction. The world may never stop testing you, but you will no longer be a prisoner of its chaos. 3. Let go of the need to correct others. There comes a point in life when we must accept a simple but difficult truth. People will be who they are, no matter how much we wish they would change. In our younger years, we may have believed that with the right words, the right argument, or the right amount of patience, we could make others see reason. But age brings the realization that people do not change because we correct them. They change only when they are ready, and often they never do. Holding on to the need to fix, correct, or guide others, especially those who do not seek our guidance, becomes one of the greatest sources of unnecessary frustration. We see family members making choices we disagree with. We encounter rudeness, selfishness, or ignorance in the world around us. We want to step in, to teach, to set things right. But what happens when we do? More often than not, our words fall on deaf ears, or worse, they create resentment and distance. And so we find ourselves not only irritated by the original problem, but exhausted by the effort of trying to change something that refuses to change. True wisdom is understanding that our peace is more valuable than proving a point. Letting go of the urge to correct others does not mean we approve of everything we see. It simply means we recognize the futility of fighting battles that are not ours to fight. It means choosing serenity over struggle, acceptance over frustration. It means understanding that sometimes silence is more powerful than words, and walking away is wiser than engaging. This does not mean we stop caring. It means we channel our energy into what we can control, our own actions, our own choices, our own inner peace. We lead by quiet example rather than forceful correction. In doing so, we free ourselves from the weight of trying to reshape the world and instead find peace in accepting it as it is. Not because the world is perfect, but because we have learned that our own well-being is worth more than the exhausting task of trying to fix what does not want to be fixed. 4. Master the art of selective attention. As we age, we realize that not everything in life deserves our attention. In our younger years, we may have felt the need to absorb everything, to be involved in every discussion, to respond to every slight, and to stay informed about every event. But as time passes, we learn that our energy is limited, and where we choose to direct it shapes the quality of our days. Not everything requires a reaction, and not every die. There will always be things that frustrate us: the impatience of younger generations, the noise of the modern world, the endless stream of bad news, and the small daily annoyances that once seemed easier to brush off. But the ability to filter what we allow into our mental and emotional space is one of the greatest skills we can develop. It is the difference between a peaceful existence and one filled with unnecess. Noticing everything does not mean engaging with everything. A rude comment from a stranger is just that, a passing remark from someone you will never see again. A family argument does not need your involvement if it only drains you without resolution. The endless flood of negative news does not require your daily attention if it only fills you with worry about things you cannot change. You have the P. Selective attention is not avoidance. It is wisdom. It is knowing that your peace is more valuable than any temporary frustration. It is understanding that you do not need to fix, absorb, or respond to everything happening around you. The world will continue to be noisy, people will continue to be flawed, and life will always have its share of inconveniences. But when you master the art of choosing where to place your attention, you regain control over your own happiness. You begin to focus on what truly enriches your life rather than what merely distracts from it. And in that choice, you find a kind of freedom that few ever achieve. 5. Stop expecting others to change. One of the most exhausting struggles in life is the expectation that others will become who we wish them to be. We spend years hoping that people will be more considerate, that family members will behave the way we believe they should, that the world will align itself with our sense of right and wrong. But the truth is, people rarely change in the ways we want them to. And the more we expect them to, the more we set ourselves up for. By the time we reach old age, we have seen enough to understand that human nature is deeply ingrained. People are driven by their own perspectives, their own experiences, and their own limitations. Some will never learn to be kind. Some will always be self-absorbed. Some will refuse to see reason no matter how clearly it is presented to them. When we expect them to act differently, we are not changing reality. We are sigh. Letting go of expectations does not mean giving up on people or losing hope in goodness. It means accepting them as they are rather than as we wish they would be. It means understanding that our peace is not dependent on their behavior. It means recognizing that we cannot force growth in another person no matter how much we may want to. The sooner we release this expectation, the sooner we free ourselves from unnecessary frustration. Instead of waiting for others to change, we must focus on what we can control, our own response, our own perspective, our own ability to cultivate peace regardless of what others do. This is not indifference. It is wisdom. It is knowing that life becomes infinitely lighter when we stop carrying the burden of trying to reshape people into something they have no desire to become. We learn to love them or leave them as they are, without anger, without resentment, and without the endless weight of unmet expectations. And in doing so, we step into a life that is no longer dictated by the faults of others, but by the Sereniten. 6. Develop emotional immunity. As we grow older, we begin to see that life does not get easier, but our ability to handle it can grow stronger. Just as our bodies develop immunity to certain illnesses, our minds and hearts must develop resilience against the inevitable frustrations, disappointments, and negativity that life throws our way. This is what I call emotional immunity. Many people go through life reacting emotionally to everything that offends or upsets them. A harsh comment ruins their day. A disagreement becomes a personal attack. The actions of others dictate their mood, as if their peace is at the mercy of the outside world. But emotional immunity means learning to separate ourselves from the chaos of others. It means understanding that not every negative encounter deserves a response, and not every insult requires an emotional investment. When someone speaks to you with disrespect, their words say more about them than they do about you. When someone tries to pull you into their negativity, it is a reflection of their inner turmoil, not yours. The key to emotional immunity is learning to observe without absorbing, to see things clearly without allowing them to penetrate your peace. Just as a strong immune system fights off illness, a strong mind deflects unnecessary negativity. This kind of strength does not come from shutting down emotions, but from mastering them. It comes from recognizing that our greatest power is in our response, not in controlling others, not in changing the world, but in choosing how we allow things to affect us. Emotional immunity is not built in a day, but with practice, it becomes second nature. It is the quiet strength of a person who no longer hands over their happiness to the opinions, moods, or behaviors of others. It is a form of wisdom that turns frustration into indifference, anger into understanding, and emotional suffering into peace. And once you cultivate this resilience, nothing and no one can take your tranquility away unless you allow it. 7. Find joy in small, meaningful moments. As we age, we come to realize that true happiness is not found in grand achievements, wealth, or the approval of others. It is hidden in the smallest, most ordinary moments of life. When we are young, we chase after big dreams, believing that fulfillment comes from reaching the next milestone. But with time, we see that life's deepest joys have always been within reach, quietly waiting to be noticed. The warmth of the morning sun on your skin, the familiar scent of an old book, the way a loved one remembers your favorite meal, the sound of laughter over a simple conversation. These are the moments that make life rich, yet they are so often overlooked in the rush of wanting more, fixing what is broken, or dwelling on what is missing. But the older we get, the more we understand that joy is not something to be chased. It is something to be embraced in the present moment exactly as it is. There will always be things that frustrate us, disappoint us, or remind us of what we have lost. But there will also always be beauty, kindness, and love woven into the fabric of daily life if only we slow down enough to see it. When we choose to focus on these moments, the weight of irritation and regret begins to fade. The things that once seemed urgent become insignificant. And what remains is the simple, undeniable truth that we are still here, still capable of experiencing joy, still able to appreciate the life unfolding before us. Happiness in old age is not about avoiding hardship or sorrow. It is about learning to see the light that exists in even the smallest things. It is about letting go of what we cannot change and holding close the moments that make life meaningful. Because in the end, it is not the years we count, but the moments we truly live. 8. Build a life too full for frustration. As we grow older, we come to understand a fundamental truth. A life filled with meaning leaves little room for frustration. Anger, irritation, and resentment often take root in the empty spaces, those moments of boredom, loneliness, or unfulfilled longing. When there is nothing engaging our minds and hearts, every small inconvenience feels bigger, every slight seems sharper, and every annoyance lingers longer than it should. But when life is rich with purpose, with activity, and with connection, frustration struggles to find a foothold. There is a reason why people who remain engaged in life, whether through hobbies, volunteering, creativity, or relationships, seem more at peace. Their minds are occupied with things that bring fulfillment, leaving little space for dwelling on what they cannot control. When the heart is invested in something meaningful, the small irritations of life become background noise rather than central conflicts. But filling life with purpose does not mean chasing after productivity for its own sake. It means nurturing the things that bring a sense of joy, accomplishment, or connection. It could be learning something new, mentoring someone younger, tending to a garden, writing letters to old friends, or simply allowing oneself to be fully present in each day. It is not about being busy. It is about being engaged in a way that makes frustration feel insignificant in comparison to the richness of life itself. A stagnant life breeds irritation, but a purposeful life overflows with contentment. The key to never being overly bothered by the world is not to remove every frustration, but to create a life so full of meaning that those frustrations become insignificant. When the mind is focused on what truly matters, the small inconveniences that once stole our peace begin to fade. And what remains is a life lived with intention, with depth, and with an unshakable sense of inner calm. 9. Embrace humor and lightness. One of the greatest gifts of aging is the ability to see life with a sense of humor. When we are young, we take everything seriously. Our mistakes, other people's opinions, the unexpected twists and turns of life. But as we grow older, we begin to understand that most of what once seemed urgent or upsetting is, in reality, temporary and often insignificant. A sense of humor allows us to step back, take a deep breath, and recognize that not every frustration is worth our energy. Laughter is a kind of wisdom. It is the ability to see the absurdity of life's little irritations rather than letting them consume us. A delayed appointment, a forgotten name, a minor inconvenience. These are not tragedies, but passing moments that we can either dwell on or laugh off. When we choose to find the humor in everyday frustrations, we rob them of their power to upset us. Humor is a way of reminding ourselves that we are not defined by the small annoyances of life, but by the way we choose to respond to them. Beyond softening frustration, humor keeps the spirit alive. It connects us to others, dissolves tension, and reminds us that joy is always within reach. A well-timed joke, a shared smile, or even the ability to laugh at our own imperfections makes life feel lighter. No one is perfect and no day is without its minor difficulties. But the ability to approach life with a sense of lightness means that we no longer feel the need to control everything. Instead, we learn to flow with life rather than resist it. Embracing humor does not mean ignoring hardship or dismissing real struggles. It means choosing not to let negativity take root in our hearts. It means understanding that laughter is not just an escape, but a powerful tool for maintaining emotional balance. A person who can laugh at life, who can shrug off annoyances with a smile, is a person who has found a path to true peace. Life will always present its challenges, but when we meet them with humor and grace, we find that even in the midst of chaos, we can still experience joy. 10. Remember, you are the keeper of your peace. There comes a time in life when we must ask ourselves a simple but profound question. Who holds the key to my peace? Is it the people around us, the circumstances we cannot control, the opinions of others, or is it something we alone have the power to protect? As we age, we begin to understand that our inner peace is ours to safeguard, and no one can take it from us unless we allow them to. The world will always be chaotic, people will always have opinions, and life will never unfold exactly as we wish. But none of these things should have the power to dictate our state of mind. Too often, we surrender our peace to things that do not deserve it. A careless comment, a moment of disrespect, a disappointment we replay over and over in our minds. But what if instead of reacting, we learn to step back, breathe, and choose calm over conflict? What if we stopped handing over control of our emotions to others and instead kept that power where it belongs, with ourselves? Being the keeper of your peace does not mean ignoring life's hardships or pretending that pain does not exist. It means choosing how much power you give to the things that disturb you. It means recognizing that you do not have to engage in every argument, respond to every insult, or carry the weight of every small annoyance. It means understanding that walking away is not weakness, it is wisdom. Silence is not surrender, it is strength. Choosing not to be bothered is not indifference, it is self-respect. There is a quiet power in refusing to let the outside world control your inner world. The storms will come, but you do not have to let them enter your soul.
The noise will surround you, but you do not have to invite it into your mind. People will behave as they will, but their actions do not have to define your emotions. True peace is not found in waiting for life to be perfect. It is found in realizing that despite life's imperfections, you are still in control of how you experience it. The most valuable lesson that age brings is the understanding that peace is not something the world grants you. It is something you choose, something you defend, and something you refuse to give away to anything or anyone unworthy of it.
The freedom of letting go, embracing peace in your later years. Aging is often seen as a journey of loss, the loss of youth, the loss of certain abilities, the loss of people and places that once shaped our lives. But if we look closer, we see that it is also a journey of profound gain. We gain wisdom, we gain clarity, we gain the ability to see what truly matters and perhaps most importantly, what does not. One of the greatest gifts of growing older is the realization that peace is something we create, not something given to us by the world. When we were younger, we may have believed that happiness came from control, from shaping people into who we wanted them to be, from correcting the world's wrongs, from proving our worth to those who did not see it. But as time passes, we learn that real strength is not found in controlling, fixing, or forcing. It is found in letting go. Letting go of anger that serves no purpose. Letting go of the need for approval. Letting go of old resentments that only weigh us down. The more we release, the lighter we become. And in that lightness, we find the peace we spent so many years searching for. It is easy to be disturbed by the world. There will always be something to complain about, someone to be frustrated with, something to be disappointed by. But we must ask ourselves, do we want to be at war with everything we cannot change? Or do we want to live in peace with what is? This is not about pretending that the world is perfect. It is about realizing that its imperfections do not have to steal our joy. Every day we make a choice. We choose whether to hold on to anger or to let it pass. We choose whether to dwell on what bothers us or to shift our focus toward what uplifts us. We choose whether to react to every small annoyance or to walk away in quiet dignity. And with each of these choices, we shape the quality of our lives. The world will not always be kind, people will not always be considerate, and situations will not always be fair. But if we commit to mastering our own reactions, guarding our peace, and seeking joy in the small and meaningful moments of life, we will find that nothing and no one can take away the contentment we carry within us. The years ahead are not about regret, resentment, or frustration. They are about wisdom, about serenity, about knowing that after all we have lived through, we no longer need to be ruled by things that do not matter. We are the keepers of our own peace, and in choosing to protect it, we free ourselves to live the rest of our days with a heart unburdened, a mind untroubled, and a spirit that knows the true meaning of fulfillment. These lessons are meant to inspire you to live fully and authentically. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Take a moment to reflect and share one thing you've learned and plan to apply in your own life. Let's support each other on this journey toward embracing these truths. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment with 1. If not, feel free to comment with 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and here's to living life on your own terms.